I get it ready, get it ready, get it ready, ready. I get it
We
ready.
ain't we ain't never canceled. We just black. We ain't canceled. We just black folk. We slide in. We don't.
CPT.
You period. You know. So
Hey, hey, but you know what I'm saying? I feel like we was only like 12 minutes though. You know what I'm saying?
which is
So it's
good, it's good for
improvement.
us. We're getting better. When we're heading
Oh
towards
yeah, that means we're getting
2023
better.
in the right direction. Shout out to Melodious
Hey,
Ramblings
We
in the
usually be 30
building.
minutes long, y'all.
Karia, what's going on? What's good with y'all?
real quick before the show
What's up?
start,
What's up?
Lee, watch your mic, nigga. That aluminum mic stand that you got, nigga.
Yeah,
We
you
hearing
be
all the
beating the hell out of
I
ding,
ain't moved
the
nowhere. I ain't did nothing.
ding. I'm just saying, watch it throughout the show.
Okay, watch it. Okay. I was like, nah,
Yeah,
I ain't
yeah,
did
yeah.
nothing, man. I
Shout out
ain't
to Rachel. Shout out to Calvin.
What's good,
What's
y'all?
good with y'all?
It's time.
Very interesting show today. Very
Yeah.
interesting show. And it's not Kanye heavy.
Mercy Hope was good.
It's not Kanye heavy. We'll be lying if we said we ain't talk about no Kanye stuff, but it's not Kanye heavy. What's up from North
Kanye
Texas?
stepping it out. Like not even 30%.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying?
Hey, we gotta shoot decent amount of people in the room. We might want to get going.
Gonna get this game.
Oh, yeah.
Gonna get it started, man. Shout out to everybody in YouTube. Shout out to everybody on Facebook. Education is elevation. You tuned in to the Chop Up, goddammit.
In the city, we gon' slide, bet I be there pronto. Me, my guys, we really live. Lord forgive me, pay my tithes. Please don't have me reach inside, and that's in the console. Keep the semi when I ride, lit off Henny when I drive. In the city, we gon' slide, bet I be there pronto.
Chop Nation, what's good? What's the word? What's going down? It's Thursday night, and you are in the place to be, the only place for you to be on a Thursday evening, kicking it with the family. Chop Nation is going down. I'm your girl, Toya G. Excited as always, ready to get into a couple different topics with y'all. Pull back the layers on this thing before we head into another weekend, a spooky little weekend, holiday weekend, if that's your vibe. But before we get there, we're going to have some conversations with our people. Who else I'm with? This guy
It's your
over
boy
here.
Damo. Yeah, because he's speaking with his hands, so I'll speak out loud. It's your boy Damo, the political plug. I have a very loaded political chop for y'all today. So you know what I'm saying? I'm ready to get to it. I love y'all.
Hey man, you gotta have some sauce. You feel me? But don't get lost in the sauce. It's George Lee, aka Conscious Lee. Don't forget the Lee, the consciously.com where you can find me if you're wondering. You know what I'm saying? But you know, we ready to get it going.
Hey, we missed y'all too. Shout out to everybody up in the comments holding us down. Definitely a good look for y'all. Pulling up, we're going to go ahead and start off with a vibe check. A couple different things we want to get into. We said we weren't going to get Kanye heavy, but we got to ask the question. Now that we've seen the empire of Kanye West fall, right? Like a lot of different things have shifted and changes. Attorneys have dropped him. Balenciaga gone. Gap gone. Adidas gone. He said they wouldn't leave him, and they left him. Donda Academy is up in the air. 1 minute school year was canceled. The next minute he said, never mind, y'all make sure y'all in class tomorrow. So that's still trying to figure out what's up. But a lot of things are happening right now. And in the mix of all of these things kind of shifting and changing, one of the things we know about Kanye West's undeniable fingerprint, handprint on our culture is fashion, right? So now a lot of people got a lot of Yeezy, right? And as a sneaker fan, you know what I'm saying? Me and Lee are down with the sneakers. Plug got some pairs tucked away, stay in the game a little bit. So I just want to know.
Do that too. Do that.
Hey, definitely tap in with us. But I want to know from y'all, and I want to know in the comments, is this one of those times when we separate the art from the artist? Like, what do we do with Yeezys? Like, how do we feel now? I'm gonna tell y'all this is somebody who got 2 pair of Yeezy slides and a pair of 500s. I ain't even touch the ground yet. What do we do about the Yeezys that we have? Do we burn them? Do we throw them away? Do we sell them? Do we just wear them understanding that shit is complicated? What we doing with the Yeezys, y'all? What's the word?
Let me go first because the only Yeezys I have in my house are some fake Yeezy slides that my wife got off Amazon for my son. So since they ain't even really Yeezy brand, these is off-brand Chinese, then the motherfucker. So we ain't doing. I think he just wore them to the little place today, big kicking it. So yeah, issue I don't have to deal with. Lee, Mr. Shoe Man.
I really feel like, I know we're trying to be brief. I inherited 2 pair of Yeezy slides and they the most comfortable shoes them that I ever had, right? I'm trying to think though in one way. Am I holding this black dude Mocha into? He out of there. He out of there. But it's like shit. Gucci and Louis and Jordan and all these people did some crazy shit too. So it's like now am I trying to justify representing the brand on some fuck shit because I got it? Or am I holding this black brand more accountable than I hold the non-black brands? Like it's a lot of questions that's going on. But to answer the question, I do have 2 pair of Yeezy slides that I got for sale. Because I feel like
we got some people in the comments.
For me personally, like it ain't with my brand. You know what I'm saying? For me to be at the airport, for me to be somewhere, I got on some Yeezy slides. For me personally, that's how I feel. You feel what I'm saying?
Look, because George would be the nigga that somebody point out with them damn shoes.
Oh yeah, definitely.
They gonna walk up to him with
okay, you know, symbolism. You know
I mean, bro had on a crew neck that said "fuck Yeezy" for "fuck yeah," right? So that's complicated.
I already drew my line in the sand, basically. Like I already, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So we got the comments though. Dewan says, "Where them MFs? Y'all already bought them." Kimya Ting looks to agree. Hold on one second. Go back to Kimya real quick. Said, if you bought them, keep them. If you bought them, keep rocking them, but don't spend no more. Period. No more money on that brand. Right. Clear, understood. Now we will go back to JM's comment.
Well, Melodious agreed.
Okay. So also right says if you already bought it, go ahead and use it, but further support, no thank you. And then JM says they're just shoes at the end of the day. So when it's all said and done, you know, we should be able to separate that logic. I want to.
I could say this up to a year ago. Up to a year ago. So then I'll leave it at that.
I will say, as a sneaker fan, I was conflicted, right? Because, you know, Kanye was on some wild shit before just recently. I was done with the music, done paying attention to him, done with a lot of his real life and caring about what was going on, unless I was laughing at it a long time ago. Like back when slavery was a choice. I was like, man, get him out of here, whatever. But the sneaker fan in me is like, but these is hot shoes. You know what I'm saying? So I was in a weird place because, you know, everybody got what they like. They got what they into. And so I wanted to be able to participate in that thing. I do want to bring up the idea, and Lee brought up the fact when we was doing, you know, some pre-show prep, that a lot of people get this phrase or this quote, they misinterpret it or don't know what it means. So y'all break down this quote real quicker, the idea that there is no ethical consumption under capitalism, because that's the biggest thing I think that we were getting at, and that Lee was getting at with, you know, we done wore all types of stuff before. We haven't split hairs about that. Why split hairs about this? I do kind of believe that there's no ethical consumption under cap. So what does that phrase mean? Somebody break that down.
So I go first. So no ethical consumption under capitalism means that regardless of our intentions, our efforts, or our focus, engaging in systems of capital, within within the systems of commerce that exist in the United States, inevitably reproduce negative impacts. So while we have the best intentions when it comes to certain capitalist efforts, right, like economic efforts, because the way the system of capital operates, that there always has to be somebody that gets fucked over in order for money to be made. It doesn't matter what you do, the intentions otherwise. Engaging in systems of capital in the United States reproduce fucked up shit regardless.
Yeah, and my version is the most simplified. Everything you got on, that you eat, that you drink, that you wear, that you use, somebody had to sweat, bleed, you know what I'm saying, for it, and somebody getting exploited for it at the end of the day. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, that if you paid $300 for your Jordans, they probably cost $5, and a couple companies is able to mark it up. You know what I'm saying? If you got on a couple $20 pair of Hanes draws, them draws probably cost 97 cents to buy. You feel me? And the company marked it on up. So it's really just,
or the person was paid 97 cents to make them.
Yeah. Toya, you on mute. And also, I don't want this to be a cop out either. I don't want the idea or the concept that under capitalism there's no ethical consumption be a way for us to not have critical analysis of what we are consuming, what we use, how it impacts other people. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah, I mean, and also to be conscious and to be mindful to have lines and limits. There are certain things that, you know, I don't participate in as a person who finds themselves in the kind of micro cracks and fissures of a capitalist system where in some ways I have privilege and in some ways I don't. In some ways I represent a particular positionality in the class struggle. In some ways I don't, or represent something else. It's about a level of conscious movement and conscious understanding, right? This is the same conversation we get in between veganism versus, consuming meat, and the difference is there. And you don't realize your veganism means a bunch of immigrants are somewhere, people, undocumented folks are somewhere working slave wages, trying to make sure you get those vegetables on your plate, not to mention the emissions that are protruding out of the 18-wheelers that are getting your stuff, your top quality stuff from, Southern or Central California to Southern California, if you where I'm at, or wherever you live and whatever region you live in. So it's really hard to parse out and be overly ethical and be overly verbose about being on the right side of too much of anything, but the effort, the consciousness, the willingness to lean in and be reflective about your habits and about how you participate in these systems is important. It's crucially important as well.
Yeah.
Right. So we'll slide, and I see some comments there. Fez says it's easy to say what we do next to buck the system, but we're out here laying the foundation and doing the groundwork, not funded by special interest or recording a video for clout. I say do him his way, and we'll do it our way while keeping tabs on those we won't deal with. So everybody's just kind of doing what they can, getting in line where they can be most effective and meaningful is where I take that. Any other comments I want to get to before we slide to the next comment?
And too, when full transparency, I was trying to do my old school BET thing when Twitter had just came out, and they'll be talking and they'll just have comments randomly on the screen, and they don't even address them. That it's randomly on the screen, so you ain't even have to keep that fast one. I was just trying to.
I appreciate it. You was trying to make sure people were represented.
Shit, yeah.
Love it.
Thank you for your production efforts, Lee.
We'll practice that from here on out. We'll practice that from here on out as we move to the topic of Britney Griner. Definitely got to make sure we are keeping the name of this Black woman in our conversations and kind of looking at and reflecting on what international politics looks like, particularly when Black people, Black women are involved, and when there are various opinions on whether or not we should be participating in getting her back to the United States. A lot of people, from what I've been seeing on Twitter, on different timelines, Bleacher Report, ESPN, different threads, all over the place, there's mixed reactions on getting Britney Griner back home. There's a lot of even Americans who do not believe that she deserves any special treatment. They really largely believe that it was them in that situation, that people wouldn't be trying to break their necks to help get them home. And so it's a rough path that people are walking to try to figure out the best way to deal with this Britney Griner issue. Now, I want to say this is Thursday, so Tuesday. You got some paperwork going on over there?
I'm sorry.
On Tuesday.
That's what it sounds like. And for me, I'm putting in on my YouTube what we call it, I guess, post. YouTube trying to turn the post shit now. So
yeah, community page.
And that's a valid. I'll take a moment to make sure I tell y'all, direct y'all to our YouTube. If you're not subscribed, go ahead and do that. If you're not liking videos that we post, go ahead and do that. If you're not liking the shorts, if you're not liking it, go stay plugged in. No reason to miss out, and make sure you help us boost our stuff. But let's go back. Britney Griner. Appeal was denied on Tuesday. If you all didn't already know, she's been given a 9-year sentence as a result of allegedly attempting to traffic, but being in possession of a weed pen, a cannabis pen with cannabis oil that is clearly illegal in Russia. Now, some of the activism that has been taking place includes, I believe, individuals smoking joints and smoking weed, for doing like a weed outside of Russian courts. Which has been a way that even in Russia, they are speaking out about a lot of this being problematic. But I will say, I read an article today that was very interesting. It talks about the fact that her appeal is strategic pawn gaming by Russia, that the end game ultimately could be to release Britney Griner. However, they are trying to make this hurt for the United States. They are aware of the desired deadline of the midterms to bring Britney Griner home, and that it can look like a political win for Joe Biden. He wants no parts of that, he being Putin. There's also clearly an attempt to kind of wag a finger in the face and say, you should have been quicker than that. Y'all remember that commercial? Oh, you should have been quicker than that. Because a lot of this has been about swapping various captives in both of these countries.
Prisoners of war.
Exactly, prisoners of war. So the United States has an arms dealer by the name of Victor Bout, who we have been holding on to, and we're very reluctant to bargain with. Huh?
Who's a big deal as well.
Yeah. But have been fighting to hold on to and have been trying to negotiate and use as a bargaining chip to get Britney Griner out. But we also understand that Britney Griner is not the only person who's associated with her dismissal. There's also a second American man who goes by the name of Paul Whelan, who is also over there and is a prisoner of war who wants to be bartered and released too. So reports say that Putin is actually like, yeah, nigga, we don't bang with you. You should have responded to our request the first time. We got 2 people you want. You got 1 we want. Y'all could we put this on the table and y'all kind of played around like the deal and the offer wasn't good enough for the swap. So they're saying that insiders are saying that he's playing the long game just to really be a troll. Every time Sherelle Griner gets on the news, this is what the report said that I read, it makes these pleas, Brittany Griner's birthday, I think, just passed and her anniversary has passed. Every time they get on the news and make these desperate pleas, it kind of plays into the insidious, deceitful mind of Putin and his regime. They're like, we really got him on the road.
Real fucked up
desperation is. You say he's what?
He's a real fucked up individual. Yes.
Yeah, it's almost like it's whetting their appetite to really watch Britney Griner struggle. So to be clear, now that this appeal has been denied, this is the last chance for her to get out, is some type of prisoner swap. If they decide not to go through this, and let's not forget, the timing for this shit is terrible. Remember, they made the announcement about going to war with Ukraine mere days before they arrested Britney Griner. So it was the worst time possible to happen. So not only is it trolling at play and at hand and a lot of just weird kind of chess playing happening, the government is like, we don't really care about this. Like, we care, but we are in a war. So priorities, right? And so it's rough. It's rough. My question to y'all is, knowing what we know, that only a prison swap is the last chance. If that don't work out, she's just in prison for 9 years. Are y'all pessimistic or optimistic?
Brittany Griner is
pessimistic, optimistic, or realistic?
Brittany Griner is now a part of, she's now fungible to geopolitical politics. Once she got locked up, that's why, as much as it's like we need these pleas, this woman need to get her pain out. Sherelle, her wife, as much as she needs to do that, and our attachment to the media, requires that she does that, it makes it worse because Putin knows. Remember, this is the same person that set up the troll farms that was organizing Black Lives Matter demonstrations. Not because they believed in the struggle, but because they knew racial relations in the United States undermine national security because it undermines national cohesion, period. So where we are now is that for every article that comes out, for every news story that's done, for every conversation that takes place about Britney Griner, she becomes that much more valuable to Putin. So, okay, y'all want, this is 2 for 1. Let's switch that up. Give us 3 people back, you know what I'm saying? Y'all can get these 2. Because we know Britney Griner is at least worth those 2, because we know the role that the media plays and whether or not you keep your job. And that's where we sitting at.
And I want to slide in there that when we say we know how the media plays, they have people that are over there watching the sports community. They have people over there who are paying attention to the way activists and identity, people who analyze identity politics. There are a bunch of different people, different groups.
They watching Google Trends too, man. They got them somebody on payroll that's watching Google Trends in America for how Britney Griner is hitting the search engine. And I think that me understanding the dogmatic way that international politics, how some people believe it goes, I think that Putin is one of the people that believe it's a dog-eat-dog world. And shit,
it's rough.
KBG. It's like having a CIA agent that did a lot of fucked up shit become president.
Well, that's what Putin is. Before I change the topic, I do want to give you the one quote from Joe Biden that kind of sealed a little bit of uncertainty for me and a little worry for me. He ended the article, or he's quoted in the article that I read, saying, "We've not been meeting with much positive response," Biden said, "but we're not stopping." So there's an investment in figuring out these issues. There's an investment in bringing her home, but in terms of the responses that they're getting, and especially trying to get it done by this midterm deadline at the very least. Who knows what that's gonna look like? So we're gonna stay tuned. Last thing I want to talk about before I toss it over to the homies, this can be a quick in and out situation. And again, this is Kanye adjacent, but it actually is kind of Kanye specific. So let's get into the Floyd family. We blew up last week. We blew up over the last couple of weeks when we found out that Kanye was making the conservative talking points that George Floyd was killed by doses of fentanyl. We know that not to be the case. The family, in response to him saying those things on Drink Champs, filed a lawsuit for $250 million. They have since rescinded that lawsuit. Plug, jump into the ins and outs of what happened with the lawsuit and why they decided to withdraw it.
Definitely.
So what's happened is a lot of people was getting on Nori ass for taking it down because it's like, oh, you caved to liberal pressure. No.
Mm-hmm.
The way defamation lawsuits work is before the lawsuit can take place, there has to be a cease and desist. So whatever platform is proliferating the bullshit, stop. Whether it's Nori and them or Kanye, stop. You know what I mean?
Right.
But so since the cease and desist has been sent out, Kanye has since backtracked on his statements, and Nori has went ahead and like took the episode down. So now
and apologized.
Apologize, right? So now the platforms and the individual that was pushing the bullshit are now kind of taking a step back on the bullshit that was pushed, which means that it really isn't much of a lawsuit to continue with.
Okay, so that explains why the lawsuit is no longer in play. I guess my question to y'all is, I think that they should continue to try to write it out and be pursuant to the original harms, the original damages, try to maybe settle things in a civil manner in civil court. Do you feel like they should keep their foot on the gas in terms of the lawsuit, especially considering? Or do you feel like maybe these apologies, maybe this corrective action is enough? Because in a lot of ways, people argue that this stuff was re-traumatizing, right? And so when you re-traumatize, that work is already done.
I would push it. I feel like if it was me, I would push it. But I recognize that when we start having a conversation about why this and not this, I think that the way in which, you feel me, people fall back or give, you know what I'm saying, passes or do that, that's the reason why, you feel me. It wasn't that thing, the slavery was a choice, or Harriet Tubman ain't real, or that's why it wasn't those things that pulled the trigger. It's because we're able to have these conversations where we're able to literally negotiate how we dictate the impact of him doing some fuck shit uniquely to Black people.
Plug, what you think?
I mean, I think complying with the cease and desist kind of puts it in position to where, you know, it's like, all right, like it's
almost dead, but
it's shit. So at least that part, that element of it is no longer, the George Floyd family and the pain that they went through no longer has to be a part of that conversation in order for it to take place.
I feel like something that's more wild about it, before you say that, is that Candace Owens went on a whole campaign to make a whole documentary about George Floyd actually dying of fentanyl and not, you know what I'm saying, this, that, and the other. Candace Owens just came out in the last couple of days saying that she's thinking about suing the George Floyd family for the pain and suffering that she's went through. So in my mind, thinking like, shit, she got some bread. Y'all should go after her ass too. She got a whole documentary.
That part.
So if y'all saying, you know what I'm saying, especially if she using the guise of freedom of speech to go on a full blown misinformation, you know what I'm saying, like
so campaign.
Yeah.
To me, I feel like that's the reason why a lot of things in our community amongst us is able to go on. You feel me?
Right. What when you say that's why? What do you like? Tie that together. Speak
to me, it's like a lot of people asking the question, why wasn't the anti-blackness that stopped Kanye instead of the, you know what I'm saying, why was the anti-Semitism? My point is the way that we're able to negotiate how we allow for people to talk shit about the community, you know what I'm saying, even from inside of the community, that's what dictates how the outside of the community throw people out. You feel what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's like shit. It's like Balenciaga and Adidas, like, is niggas still rocking with them? Okay, we good. We good.
Yeah. Right.
Shit, you got 2 pair of flip-flops. I got 2 pair of flip-flops. Shit, other niggas is going to Donda Academy and going to the
fake ones.
You know, so it's like shit. I think I don't want to make this too Kanye-esque. We keep the conversation going. I think that it's important for me to point that out right now because to me, I think it illustrates itself almost. The point makes itself in many different instances.
There it is.
Danielle, right now she's leading for comment of the night. Clandis Owens. I'm a fan of creativity. Clandis is clever. That's clever. So yeah, she's doing that thing.
Hey, well, this has been the vibe check. Thank y'all for checking in with me. We are moving in closer and closer to election time. I don't know about y'all and y'all's neighborhoods, and I know Plug is going to talk about this soon, but I know we'll have a whole lot more conversations, both in the vibe check and in the show in general, about a lot of these upcoming elections next month. So go ahead and turn it over right now.
All right, let's go ahead and get into this political chop. I've been excited about this since we sat down and had the conversation to prepare this episode. So the first story that we're going to get into with the political chop is actually a rebuttal from last week. So last week, when it was just Toya and myself, the vibe check was about an op-ed, an opinion piece in the Huffington Post that characterized Killer Mike as being more dangerous than Kanye. Now, Toya and I agreed with the op-ed, actually. As Black people, we agreed with the op-ed. We was a little bit ahead of the curve because it's only been in the last couple of days that we've seen other media outlets respond to that particular op-ed, as well as somebody that showed up in our comments that had a problem with us agreeing with that piece. Now, to be clear, the opinion piece stated that Killer Mike was more dangerous than Kanye because while Kanye's statements are easy to view and characterize as beyond the pale, as outside of what's politically acceptable, Killer Mike and his transition from supporting Bernie Sanders to people like Brian Kemp is displaying a level of everymanhood, what Toya referred to as kind of like that uncle mentality conversation, to where you hear people that make sense because they're familiar to you, right? The op-ed pretty much said that the fact that Killer Mike is taken more serious politically than Kanye is, then the things that he adhere himself to, the politicians that he support, are actually become much more viable in the eyes of Black people. Now, I'm a huge fan of the Young Turks on YouTube. I became like, George is my nigga. Once the Young Turks started working with George, if y'all check out him on his Consciously platform on TikTok, once the Young Turks started fucking with George, I became more of a fan of that nigga. Or excuse me, Consciously, right? Like I was like, you my nigga and all, but Turks is fucking with you. Okay, yeah, you really my nigga now, right? But they came out and was like, and as well as other Black media that came out and was like, that op-ed is on some bullshit, and that they actually taking it too far by placing Killer Mike in that light. So I wanted to take this time to address whether or not Toya and I were right or in the right by agreeing with the opinion piece. You mind if I go first, Toya?
Please.
Okay, check this out. I wholeheartedly agree with that opinion piece. As a Black man, as a person that tells you I'm not a Democrat and I damn sure don't fuck with conservatives, I agree with that opinion piece. You may not be cool. And again, the opinion piece in the Huffington Post that said that Killer Mike was much more dangerous than Kanye. This is the thing that we talked about in debate. I'll keep this succinct. Whiteness.
Yeah.
What makes it the most dangerous is that it exists in the background. It's not bombastic. It's not spectacular. Whiteness is normal. It's normalized. And the perceptions of the world that whiteness creates becomes the new normal, which means that whiteness is dangerous, not in 2022, not when we see very explicit, obvious acts of racism, but when racism can be deemed as normal. Killer Mike is more dangerous than Kanye because Killer Mike is considered normal politically, specifically amongst Black people. And where he becomes dangerous is that us attaching him to normal when he weirdly jumps from Bernie Sanders to Brian Kemp. Bernie Sanders to Brian Kemp.
Don't make no sense.
This is the same Brian Kemp that really screwed over Stacey Abrams by controlling the election outcome, by controlling who's able to vote. The same Brian Kemp that was sued for undermining and denying the right for Black people to vote by manipulating the system, by taking away voting places and polling places. That Brian Kemp.
Yeah.
The Killer Mike that told us that we shouldn't support Hillary because the way that they doing Bernie Sanders is now supporting Brian Kemp and Herschel Walker. That's dangerous. It ain't no explanation to how he went from such really radical liberal politics to now radical conservative. Really, not even radical conservatism, like by the books conservatism and conservatism, right? Donald Trump conservatism. Stop playing with us. When he does that, we look at that like, oh, you legitimizing these people, but never holding them accountable to what they did to black people in the first place. So while TYT, I love y'all. I love the platform. The reason why what that opinion piece says makes sense is because we trust Killer Mike. We ain't trusted Kanye in years.
That part, that part. I think the only thing that I would add to that, and this speaks directly to the individual who wrote the comments on the YouTube video, who were just like, you all basically are bagging on this black man that's trying to do the extracurricular thinking that's not that's not taking place right now to really kind of get us and pull us away from Democrats and the way that they play in our faces all the time, not recognizing that we don't really identify as Democrats either. So I don't know what because we're not rallying for Killer Mike to come back home to the Democratic side. That's not it either. It is more importantly, and this person insisted that black people are swing voters. Black people are not a monolith. They can't be put in a box. Black people are swing voters. And I agree with that. Right? We vote on issues. We vote on people who kind of feel and speak to our needs and our interests. But what you're not going to do is play in my face because context matters. It's not just that we're trying to block Killer Mike from being more open and being more fluid to maybe bring attention to the good things that other candidates are doing that candidates we more typically are connected to are not. It's not that we don't care about, leaning into more meaningful gray areas of politics because we recognize that we're not meaningfully represented in the Democratic Party. You think we stupid? We're not stupid, right. But we're also looking at the context. Nigga, you want us to care about Herschel Walker? You want us to give Killer Mike credibility for sitting down and Blood just very eloquently broke down the issues with Brian Kemp? So quit playing in my face. It is not that Killer Mike is coloring outside the lines, baby. It's that I don't like the picture overall. It is that he's coloring outside of the lines, but he's coloring a Confederate flag. Politics that are invested in the old, and the analogy will catch you later, but ultimately you're not finna treat me like some okie doke politically illiterate individual who is not able to look at these situation by situation, issue by issue things that specifically Killer Mike is trying to line himself with and saying no thank you. Right? As my mother would say, I'm not Boo Boo the Fool and I'm not Susie Sausage. You're not finna play
Girl.
I don't know.
We love you.
That is what's blowing my mind. So for all of y'all saying we're going overboard, we're doing too much, that criticism is too strong. No, that level of familiarity, that the guy that could go do a Run the Jewels show and then pop up in the seats and be in the midst of all the political movers and shakers that control the South and specifically the epicenter of progressive black politics, the state of Georgia. We can really sit back and be lax while he playing it. Like it's just not possible. And so
I think the more I hear y'all talk too, like you want to take advantage of my TikTok notoriety in our relationship, that because he followed me on TikTok, I follow him on TikTok, and I really agree with everything y'all saying. Feel me? It's like from a policy standpoint, we can go out of feelings and everything. I think that the people that criticize y'all for that, I guess some criticize us for that. I think that they link to their own criticism because they assume that we have a low level of political literacy, or they assume that we have a lack of knowledge when it comes to the policy making process. So I think that when we talk about like race, class, gender, ability, sexuality, or more importantly, the political, social, economic implications of all those things, it's assumed that when we start criticizing the right or Republican shit, and we're coming in from this liberal
Democrat. We Democrats.
I think that all three of us collectively have better criticisms for the right. I mean, have better criticisms for the left and leftists than any Republican can ever dream of.
Come on,
thank you.
I think that in a debate, all three of us collectively could kick Killer Mike's ass on whatever criticism he has about the left.
Of the left,
we can make one 3 times better, and then be able to 10 times better show how you're implicated in a lot of fuckery, using your own words and using policy, not feelings, not accusations, but literally like Brian Kemp has pushed this particular policy that wants to teach black children this. You say you love black children. You also say that you come from the black community. This is what Stacey Abrams wants to teach black children. You said because Brian Kemp went to this random black school with black boys that's literally ran by a black conservative,
come on,
King Randall, that you started playing that and said literally verbatim that Stacey Abrams needs to copy and paste Brian Kemp's campaign method and strategy because it is more effective. So now when Toy was sitting, I was like, man, you playing in our face, and I don't like what you're doing because we be on that kryptonite. I'll be on that. Hey, listen, fam, you're gonna be able to use your proximity to rap music into niggas to now make this white supremacist shit that's anti-nigga more palatable to black people. And it's just like that is that is bad. No black person that's going around. I'll say this last thing. Most black people that vote don't rock with Kanye West.
Yeah.
That's it.
I mean, the only thing I was going to do is extend my argument from last week that goes greatly with yours. And it's just the idea that it is not only dangerous to make Killer Mike more palatable, it is because he makes those candidates that disserve black communities more palatable. It is dangerous that he even piques the interest of niggas who are looking for a way out. Right, niggas like us who are similar to us, but are still in the early stages of developing the political literacy to not differentiate and think outside of the politics presented to them and figure out how to pick and choose and participate in the marketplace of ideas. Those people who are still very delicate in that phase of their process are the ones who are, easy prey for the type of ideologies that are being filtered through Killer Mike. Because then it's like all of a sudden, well, he's harmless, he's on my side. Right. So at least what he's saying, let me stop and listen, stop and lean in. And that is the place where a lot of shit starts to fall apart. We also tied that conversation with the delicacy of black women and black men, not to mention the other various dichotomies of our identities, but black men and black women already voting in divergent ways. So what we don't need is a lot of the black men who we're calling on to be galvanized leaders of our community to lean into the poison well of what Killer Mike is selling, just because it seems just fringe enough, just free thinker enough, just above the board enough to be something that's not the regular old democratic politics.
Right.
That shit is dangerous. That's
so
why
the last thing I say about this, and we'll get to the next story in the political chop because it's kind of packed tonight. Going from Democrat to Republican is not free thinking.
Yeah.
Going from Democrat to Republican is not a radical political pragmatism at all. The issue is not that black people vote Democrat. The issue isn't that black people vote Republican. The issue is that it's only two parties to choose from, which means that everything gets so simplified and dumbed down to just this or that the nuance of real life, the nuance of society gets lost. You're not a free thinker simply because you went from 1 to 2 or from 2 to 1. You're a free thinker when you're able to think about politics outside of the paradigm of Democrat versus Republican. And specifically with black people, I'm going to tell y'all, that's white on white violence. Niggas should not be running with Democrat talking points. Niggas should not be running Republican talking points. When I first became the political plug, the first conversation I had, my first series of videos was, I am not a Democrat. I am black. Yeah. I know y'all will confuse these things because Democrats have co-opted black talking points. But to be clear, if you hear Democrats say things that I say, do not equate the two. I say them because of my blackness. Democrats say them
because they want my blackness, they want my black vote. That's what they said. I said because I'm black. They said because they want my black vote. When he says that they are co-opted, this means in terms of sequencing, historically speaking, this speaking point came from black people. And then when Democrats want to try to get the black vote or co-opt it, this is a speaking point that they, brought into. But the people on YouTube and Facebook right now that's watching this specifically, this is dedicated to y'all. When you come into the comment section with those horrible, shallow criticisms that's lost in the sauce of bipartisan bullshit, the reason why I flush you down the toilet every single time is because I know you are lost in the sauce of white supremacy and you can only see your own people through the lens of left versus right, Republican versus Democrat. And that's how I know that we not on the same level playing fields when it even comes to giving analysis and speaking truth to reality and speaking truth to power. So let's just get that clear. There's a teachable moment. Don't compare these two things together. Just to reiterate, free thinking and being lost in the sauce and left versus right is not that.
It's not.
It sound like Masonil.
Right.
It's late.
Moving on. Next story. This is more relevant to Toya and I. George went from Oklahoma to Texas. He deals with this on a daily basis. Non-white anti-blackness in LA City Council. Nuri Martinez, the LA City Council president, has recent. You said what?
I live in Texas now, though. Shit. So you know what I'm saying?
So
you live in very conservative. You went from conservative place to conservative place where this is expected. We live in a liberal oasis where people were stuck, shocked to learn that their non-white Latino political leaders were behind some very insidious and incendiary remarks. So that's, I think, what we're getting.
So just real quick background on for all our non-Californian people. Nuri Martinez, who's the city council president for Los Angeles, Gil Cedillo and Kevin De Leon were all reprimanded and censored by LA City Council. Now, LA City Council does not have the ability to expel members, but Nuri Martinez, who says some of the most salacious shit, has resigned. Gil Cedillo and Kevin De Leon have been censored by City Council due to a 2021 recording. Now, it was done secretly, which is.
Can you be clear about what censored means? Is that the obvious kind of meaning of they are not allowed to speak out and participate in the inner workings of city politics? Or what does that mean?
It's wholly symbolic. It's so City Council is pretty much saying they're saying we're reprimanding them for still remaining members, but they can still participate. They still have like full.
And to be clear, they are refusing to resign. Like these are direct, vehement, heels in the ground, 10 toes down. I'm not quitting my job. Refusals to resign, which is why they ended up having to be censored.
Right. Now again, Nuri Martinez, because she had made a comment about like she had called like black people monkeys or black kids monkeys. So she out of there.
It was a small child, a little boy on a float that I think they were at some type of float for maybe George Floyd or maybe something like that. And I guess he was like 3 or 4 doing what 3 or 4-year-olds do. And by the way, he is a black child who is fostered by a white council member. And so not only was it just a black child, but it was also the child of one of her colleagues who she called in Spanish, basically a little monkey, and said he was flying around like a little monkey. And he needed his ass beat. He said, I wanted to beat his ass, take him around the corner and beat him up real quick.
Right. So there was a secret recording done in 2021, which is illegal in the state of California. It does require 2-party consent. So there is an investigation to how this recording became about. But aside from the fucked up comments that was made, they were exposed to have plotted to protect political influence by redrawing council districts to the detriment of the black constituents and renters. So black people, but also people who rent don't necessarily own their home. So what we see here is not only is there a messed up perception of black people that's coming out of non-white individuals, but it's also these non-white individuals who also have extensive political power, specifically in the city of Los Angeles, are also using their perception and that power to make sure that they hold on to their political influence at the detriment of black people. Specifically, because you see how it was like black. If you look at the LA Times article, it's blacks and renters. So uniquely fucks over black people. But then if you happen to rent, which is like most people in Los Angeles, because owning property in LA is damn, you got to damn near be a millionaire to do that. So with seeing this take place from other non-white individuals, how do we approach challenging non-white anti-blackness both socially and politically? Now we can't respond to them the same way we respond to white people, right? Because there's supposed to be certain coalitions and understanding that we're supposed to have with each other. So from y'all perspective, given what's happening in LA, what is the appropriate response to challenging non-white anti-blackness both socially and politically?
I think there has to be a lot of collar yanking and there has to be a lot of self-accountability, right? To say what should we do or what should we have to do would mean that we as black people can go and jump into these other conversations the same way we can't jump into white people conversations. We got to be like, you need to go get your mans. You need to get your people. You need to sit around the table during these holidays and talk to your family. It's the same expectations. And I will say, I have been impressed with the responses of multicultural groups across the LA area showing up, gathering the fuck out of them. Indigenous people was up there pissed and going off about the way that these politics have been playing out both in terms of the redistricting and in terms of the racist remarks that were happening. Latino communities was up in there deep. Asian communities up in there deep. It was really a great demonstration of the fact that we not letting nobody get off with this shit, even if you look like us, because if you do it to them, you'll do it to us too. So we always have to be skeptical about the metrics of how you are conducting yourself behind closed doors and what that might mean in the bottom line of this city. So I will say, I don't think there's a perfect way outside of people self-regulating inside of their own communities. Y'all know what it looks like, feels like, sounds like to be rejected, to be marginalized, to be erased, to be silenced. And so I think it is an opportunity, just like every other time, for you to get your mans, get your auntie, get them. They tripping.
Get your people. Hey, get your people.
Them. And I mean, and LAC Council has seen hell. They have not known peace. These people have been relentless in disturbing their ability to conduct city business. And no, and in that way, you know how they say the kids are going to be all right. Like, all right, we might be all right. The society the community might be all right, just in terms of the response to this shit on a community level.
So Toya, you saying that not only, so from our perspective is get your mans, but there are other non-white individuals that's like, yeah, we need to check y'all.
Yeah, there were Asian American. There was just so much representation, and we know in Southern California, Asian representation is vast. Southern California is the largest population for a few different Asian cultures or Asian ethnicities outside of their particular homelands, and so a lot of people showed up out there, and it was, of course, more. And I don't even live in LA County, you know what I'm saying? So I've only been tangentially listened to and paying attention to how things are unfolding.
It's your old Orange County ass.
I live in the county of Orange, where the real racists, participate in my
hey, we out here. Toya's an Anaheim Angels fan. Lee, now Lee, you deal with a lot more because you deal with a lot of conversations that have to do with Black people, right?
Yeah.
So from your perspective, so I know you've already had to deal with certain people, because even in our comments, it was somebody that came out and was like, in one of our shorts on YouTube, somebody came out and was like, as a Mexican, why everything got to be black and white type shit. So if we approaching it from the education is elevation conversation, like, how do you approach the like non-white anti-blackness?
In all communities, it's a paradigm of light skin, of a dark skin. And I think that once I get anybody to concede and or acknowledge that in all communities, it's cross-cultural to value the light-skinned people of your community more than you value the dark-skinned people of the community. And we get into anti-blackness, or we get into how, you know what I'm saying? I feel like that's the way I go into the conversation. I think that like acknowledgement is especially in this instance, it goes very far. I can get non-white, non-black people to see how they buy into anti-blackness or deploy tools of white supremacy. It's like, yeah, you need to see how you also try to get closer to mainstream America by conforming to the ways they see Black people. And recognizing that in a liberal state like, you know what I'm saying, California, and in a conservative state like Texas, there are a lot of specifically people of Latin, you know what I'm saying,
and Florida.
You know what I'm saying, in Florida, that in New York, that like to play with different tropes of anti-blackness to try to get closer to whiteness and white people. So it's really thinking about how resources, access, you know what I'm saying, and opportunity a lot of times are structured by your proximity to whiteness and white people, or your willingness to distance yourself from blackness and Black people. And that's usually how I approach that conversation.
1000%. One thing I do want to think about too, and I posted Tashi's comment, but I want to go back to it. They say, agreed, as a Latina, we need to call out our own. We got Afro Latinx people in our community, but they act like they don't exist. Black and Indigenous people get viewed as less than, and it's time to do better. And so that correlates directly not only with the notions of colorism, but colorism often exists because of intersectional identities, because people are multi-raced. And so they, as Black Latino folks, as Black Asian, Blasian individuals, right? It's all these different kind of mixing and overlapping.
Is that the official term?
These are names. This is not. It's not derogatory. They call themselves.
I know it's not derogatory. Malaysian is not derogatory, but is it the official term?
Listen, I have degrees in communication studies. I'm nobody's sociologist, but what I will say, that's all I'm saying. But what I will say,
it's been a hard time getting it.
From Wake Forest, by the way. So when y'all hop in our comments and y'all be. She has a master's in rhetoric from
rhetoric.
Wake Forest University.
I do. Okay. And they hated giving me that degree. I got my
one of the top communication programs in the country.
That way, top 25, dare I say top 10. Doesn't matter. What you should understand is that there is a lot of overlapping that becomes necessary for people who are living in the same households, in the same blocks, on the same neighborhoods, with these people to show up and either be a part of those conversations or recognize that they are implicated in those conversations themselves. And so a lot to be seen in terms of this issue. A lot of, and it was very interesting. I think this, it might have been, I don't know if it was De Leon or Sadeo who were talking about their refusal to leave because they feel like their presence is necessary for the healing process to really start to build back and to kind of come back and be stronger after these types of issues. So they feel like their stance and staying is one that is not, tucking your tail between your legs and running and hiding in the face of the adversity that you have caused, but rather they want to stick around in the thick of it and rebuild from the inside out. And so I say all this consequences, to say, but I'm excited to see. Well, I mean, and here's the thing, when we talk about restorative justice, when we talk about restoration, when we talk about healing relationships, and I'm no therapist, I don't have any psychology degrees either, but I am very aware of the various ways we go about coping, dealing, and handling people who have wronged folks who are part of communities. And when we look at, not to make levels and layers out of pain, but some people might say these were problematic comments. These were sentiments that can be corrected and changed. Nobody was sexually violated. No money was stolen. No, you know what I'm saying? But in ways, when you talk about redistricting and stuff, you do manipulate resources. You do move around the possibility of people to open businesses, to have access to proper schools. So it's complicated. But I will say LA is an interesting place right now for the leaders and the people who are making decisions. So stay tuned because things are ever changing.
Right. All right, moving on. The next story that we have for the night in the political chop is another thing that we deal with out here in California that would never be a conversation in Texas, Lee, or Oklahoma, Lee, is reparations.
I wasn't trying to turn into a debate, but it's like you recognize the pervasiveness of anti-blackness. I live in Texas, born and raised in Texas.
Born and raised, right?
Crazy if you don't think that we don't deal with non-white
anti-black. No. Yeah, that. But I know that's why I said, how do you strategize against it?
Oklahoma, I would say, is a lot different because the black
population
in the Mexican population is slim. You feel me? It's like
compared to Texas.
You know what I'm saying? Compared to Texas. But I will say the uniqueness is, growing up in Texas, anytime I heard about the black and brown wars in Oklahoma, in California, I always thought like in Texas, black people and Latino people, we know how to stay in our own lanes. We don't be having beefs like that, or at least with the part of Texas I'm from.
That's called segregation.
You know what I'm saying? It's like shit. We good. Hey, in my hood, I went to school with a bunch of Mexicans. I lived next door to them.
You went to the nigga school, yeah.
You feel me? Like it was nothing but like blacks and Mexicans there. You know what I'm saying?
No, shout out to Bryan, Texas. I know the first time I traveled there, I woke up. Like, I was sleeping in George's car, and I woke up, and he was like, "We here," and I look up, and I'm like,
"Get the crib."
So, hey, with that being
said, that I want to go only because I know doggone George Lee. I feel
like Lee, we gotta take Toya to Bryan. Matter of fact, we gotta take Toya to Bryan to meet Pops. We got because I ain't met Pops. We gotta meet Pops.
Yeah, put in Houston. I got you.
We go to Bryan because my wife went to college. My wife went to Texas A&M University, which is like right next to Bryan College Station. So. Yeah, there's some stories I done heard. But check it out. Moving on real quick. We're gonna keep it in California. Governor Brian, or excuse me, Gavin. I said Brian. Gavin Newsom, actually, had some years back had created a reparations task force where you got a lot of smart Black people in the state of California that have come together to attempt to create really a cohesive, productive reparations bill to figure that out. Now, a conversation that I've had with folks is about what that means for what Black means legally. Now, Gavin Newsom has signed some legislation to kind of create a specific category for Black people who are considered descendants of slaves, and to help kind of understand who should receive reparations in the state of California. One thing that I've always spoken about when it comes to the reparations conversation is that anything that's a part of legislation has to be clearly defined. That means every word and we know this topicality. We know this topicality. Every word has to be defined for us to understand what is meant by the legislation, which means that Black would then require a legal definition in order for people to fit within.
And one does not exist now. To be clear for the people that do not know, what I've learned about Black feminism and through intersectionality is that Plessy versus Ferguson in the Brown versus Board of Education, specifically, if you was to read like what the judges and what was said, the definition of who is Black and what is Black is something they do not have. As a matter of fact, Plessy versus Ferguson tried to contest it based using his biracial identity. You know what I'm saying?
Plessy was biracial. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, education is elevation. Go ahead.
He tried to question the legal parameters of who is Black and what does Black mean. And literal, the findings in that court case was that we don't give a damn. We get to say the one drop rule, and if we feel like you Black, then you Black, and you ain't
Black.
Because I'm always like, I feel like nigga translation is like, because we see you as being Black, you don't have any jurisdiction or capacity to say who is Black or what is Black, because we define you as that.
Yeah,
us. We get to define what that is.
So all right, so what Lee is speaking to is already, what, like the way that it's been informally played with. To make a reparations bill, it would have to become formal. So the question that I have for y'all is reparations worth allowing white lawmakers to define Blackness? I repeat it. This is for y'all in the chat too, because we going through the comments. I love y'all. I'm loving the comments.
Definitely.
Is reparations worth allowing white lawmakers to define Blackness? We're gonna start with Lee on this one.
Man, for me, I would like almost respond would be like, shit, do you think that white folks trying to define reparations? Define who Black is on stop people trying to get reparations? Hell no, we're gonna get through this right here. Get our reparations. That's how I see it. Like these white folks trying to play politics to define who is Black and what is not Black. That is not going to be a end all be all for me and how I go about getting reparations. And if you in my classroom and I'm teaching you about reparations and I account for this thing that's going on, I don't think that the white men in Supreme Court, you feel me, and the couple Blacks, you know what I'm saying, or the one Black, two Blacks, you feel me, or whatever. Like I'm not gonna let that discourage me from before we get a seat in terms of it. And I'm in my mind, it's like yeah, you feel me? Like we gonna get past this. They're gonna play some games. If they do it, we gonna get it we're gonna get a revision, we're gonna get it redid, we gonna get it appealed. You feel me? Like we gonna get reparations though.
So I'm tempted to agree with you, but Charlie Joe in the comments really kind of speaks to my heart in the sense that they feel like it's a slippery slope. And so while I can get with the logic of let's get this bag and untangle that shit a little bit later, you can't tell me nothing about me and I'm gonna be who I'm gonna be anyway. I am concerned about then the codification of these standards and limitations of in versus out, Black versus not Black, to then be applied to other contexts. And I haven't been able to figure out or think through like different scenarios or situations where that could become an issue. But I mean, I think just in terms of having certain information. I don't know. Like, I don't know what's possible when you start allowing the government to project notions of identity more than they already have. And to solidify those is then things that qualify you or disqualify you for anything. They already have enough ability to do that, right? They already have enough kind of power to take what is on the ID. Let's look at trans students, trans people in general, and make decisions about what boxes have been checked. And so
next week we get into it next week.
Hey, and so we're gonna talk about trans kids and trans issues next week for sure.
I'm tired. I ain't a lot of y'all out. I'm proud of myself. I do it right now. Like,
and you're winning, and I'm proud of you. But what I will say, let me finish this out real quick. What I want to say and kind of ultimately get to is the idea that allowing the state to wield that much power is a replication of a system that we've already seen how it works and how it functions. And so I feel like it would almost be as beautiful as reparations are. And here's the thing: ain't enough reparations. Right, so I'm almost okay. Well, because what's enough? Like, what do you get? You talking about with $1,000 a check, $1,000 a month? That's $1,200 a year or some shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, so whatever you got from me ain't no enough. And I think it might not be no enough for me to suspend my understanding of how you have already kind of typecast and put us in boxes.
I can see that. I think that from that perspective, me knowing how politics work, it'll be like we gonna give y'all reparations, but it's gonna be like, we know a lot of you niggas got loans, so we're gonna give y'all $50,000, you know what I'm saying, off your student loans, and we'll give you a $1,000 check. So it's like, damn, we just let you define who is black and what is black for $50,000 subsidies and you know what I'm saying, a $10,000 check. Like, damn.
You see this question Richard asked, aren't we going to have to self-identify, opens up a whole nother can of worms, because then I got to look at black people sideways. Like, are you cutting into my piece of my reparations because you over here trying to get over? Or are you really? And I don't want to authenticity test niggas like that at all. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to be in a position to do that. I don't want the state to be in the position to be like, you have self-identified as a Negro. The lie detector determined that is false. That is a lie. I don't have any of this shit. So just, as terrible as it is, I just rather the state stay out of it.
Because I definitely read it. I feel like a part of me think that, though, the pessimist in me feel like this shit is inevitable, though. Like, ultimately, because there is so much legislation that has the word black in it, and the policy debater and all three of us know that we need legal definitions, the much more conflict and controversy that comes around, you feel me, or that comes around like black from a legal standpoint, I think that inevitably it'll be about them trying to define what's black and being able to recognize the slippages legally they have not been able to really tie that down. So for me, it's just like, shit, it's inevitable, man. You know what I'm saying? The question is, would it be in my lifetime or would it be in my grandkids' lifetime? You know what I'm saying? My kids decide to have kids, you feel me? But I see it as being inevitable, especially knowing that the gerrymandering, the this, the that. From the video I seen, bro broke it down from how a lot of the redistricting happens off of the census. And because we get to think about who get to be black, it's like literally in Republican ran areas, they will redistrict an area and literally draw out the black people to make it where we're gonna spread the black people in this area across these 5 areas around this, you know what I'm saying, metro, and make it where if you live in inner city Houston, you really in Cypress or Katy, or you really in Pearland now, you really in, you know what I'm saying? Like, they play with games like that, you feel me? So it's really, to me, it's like seeing what that's already, you know?
So, no, because I'm gonna go ahead cap it off and then
got you. Well, I seen 2 Mercy Hope comments that I want to kind of shout out. One was the one I just had on the screen where they was like, I want my $12,000. I messed up, did bad math, and said $1,200 definitely meant $12,000, $1,000. Definitely
$12,000,
right.
Cheap ass, $1,200. That's all they buy you. That's all they need.
I think I was thinking $100 a month, and I got my zeros misplaced. Okay, I lost one of them, but tickled me because I feel that like $12K a year is a substantial change to, you know what I'm saying? It would change the lives of a lot of people. Realistically, another question that they asked was, what if we only get reparations based on how much African DNA we have? And so I think that is very interesting, right? The possibility of maybe having everybody take some ancestry tests, you figure out your percentages, and then you get a certain amount of money based on a certain amount of percent of whatever blood. If you got 6% Senegalese blood and 17% Congolese blood, you got a little Sierra Leone, and you got a little, then all of a sudden your money starts to rack up. That could be an interesting way, but I think it's very important to recognize that I think that puts us at a disadvantage because of the settler colonialism that has happened over time. And I forget who pointed that out in the comments, but you know, the notion of being a purer blood than somebody else, you can get that out your mind. It been so much race mixing and matching and overlapping. It's just a lot of that shit is impossible. So that would mean we would undervalue how much money we are owed because of what our ancestors went through, because we would kind of be putting it on that sliding scale. So tricky business. But Plug, go ahead and wrap it, pull it out, do whatever you need.
In that instance, we will allow for our proximity to whiteness and white people to be able to extract value from how much money we would get. Right. And it's thinking about, you know what I'm saying, like on some descendants of African slaves that's in America, like, you know what I'm saying, type shit. Is like thinking of like, okay, so we tying it to African DNA. But if you have too much white DNA or too much non-African DNA, it'll be, you know what I'm saying. But to me, I feel like to end this rant, I grew up as a Southerner always hearing you don't want to open those can of worms. And usually when that was deployed, it was deployed in a way that say that the emotional and intellectual labor that it would take to do X, Y, and Z is really not worth it. And when debate talk, question of you don't want to open that can of worms for who? It's too much for who? It's too much of a slippery slope for who? Because for me, as in my psyche and my consciousness, is like, hey, I was born on a slippery slope.
Yeah,
I'm surviving on a slippery slope. You trying to add another slippery slope to the slopes I'm already sloping? Let's slope along, baby. I'm a sloper in this motherfucker. Let's slope together. You slope, not slope, and we slope together, baby. Let's slope. Shit, let the folks come and join the slope. Shit, we ain't ran from that. You feel me?
Yeah. So Lee and I have kind of, because I'm really like, it's the same way that niggas kind of complain about the Civil Rights Act. You know what I mean? It's the same way niggas complain about segregation. Well, I don't agree with those arguments. I do believe, though, that there is a greater danger with allowing the systems and structures that operate based off anti-blackness to establish what black means, though. Because like Malcolm X said, you can't hate the roots of the tree and not hate the tree. Mm-hmm. You can't have a negative perception of Africa and not have a negative perception of yourself. So while I agree with that, the fact that Black American tradition and culture is unique and should be valued and should be appreciated for being Black American culture, we've already allowed them to. We've already given them too much power with the fact that Black is an exonym. It was never a term that we gave ourselves. Mm-hmm. It's a term that was placed on us, which means that we've been able to dictate Blackness in a very fluid way. Legal language necessitates that it creates a static definition to understand Blackness. Blackness cannot be understood from a static perspective. It's too multifaceted. It has too many different elements, specifically because what Black became had to do with an amalgamation of African cultures, but then also indigenous cultures, Native American cultures, which we in a lot of ways mixed with. Like, it don't matter which side your family, the same way people talk about, well, you got Black in you because somebody in your family was raped, but you also got some type of indigenous in you because somebody in your family got the fuck off that plantation, and there were Native American people that were saying, we support you, we want to protect you. So it's a slippery slope.
Was already up.
Don't do that. So it's a slippery. So Lee said it is a slippery slope. Do I think it's worth reparations? I'm gonna say yeah, because I fuck with Black people, and Black people for the most part feel like that something needs to be done. So I'm not gonna be against reparations because white people have some hand in defining it. But at the same time, that's something that I want niggas to think is important. So we're gonna finish out. We got two more stories. We're gonna finish this thing out real quick.
Two more stories.
Do you think we should?
Nah, they quick though. They quick.
Be surgical.
They quick. Yeah. Dr. Oz in his Pennsylvania debate says abortion is a matter between a woman, her doctor, and local politicians. How dangerous is that? For a lot of people, that's a.
Yeah.
I don't even need to say nothing else. Go ahead, Twin.
He needs his ass beat. Did you want me to repeat what I said?
Repeat what you said. Yeah.
He needs his ass beat for the third time.
Why?
Why? because that is just some of the most nonsensical business that I think I've ever heard in my life. I don't care if you have a uterus. I don't care if you should not be in mine. You have your own to attend to. So there's not a politician walking this earth that I think needs to be a part of any relation, any conversation. It's stupid. It's dumb. And it's one of those one-liners that I bet they thought was hot as shit in the SUV on the way over to the fucking debate or wherever he said that shit at. And they should have kept that in the no thank you, pal. That is how I feel about
Well, he need to fire his team and get him a whole new prep team and get them better debaters, because it's like, listen, man, all that shit y'all be talking about, the non-Western countries that don't want to conform to your ideas of democracy and don't want to, you know what I'm saying, conform to your ideas of, you feel me, reproduction. You will characterize them as saying what you just said and then justify invading their country and stealing their resources because they just said that a woman's birth should be left up to them politicians. And but like, get out of here, man. You smoking dope and dog food and you sound like a goddamn
niggas are so creative. But yes, that
right. So I do want to say this. It creates too much of a normalized perception of undermining women's bodily autonomy. It's all about bodily autonomy. It's not even a conversation between a woman and her doctor. Doctors provide a service, which means that when a woman comes to a doctor, she's already like she should be able to already decide what she wants to do with her body. So what the issue with Dr. Oz's comments to those who, like, you know, they say common sense ain't so common. The issue with Dr. Oz's comments is that it undermines the bodily autonomy of a woman. It's like, okay, I can see how people could think it has to do with a doctor, but including local politicians in determining what a woman can do with her body.
I want to
totally ridiculous.
But I'm in that room with you, baby. Yeah. I want about 50.5%. But listen, if you decide that you too broke to have a baby, goddamn, you gotta run it by me. And if I say that you gotta have that baby, then guess what? You should have been opposed. That ain't my fault.
Right.
Now I get to make a life decision for you. I'm gonna be in this office for goddamn 2 years. You feel me? 4 years. And I get to make a decision for you for the rest of your life. That's gonna hit you for 25 years. You know,
I told you I was gonna be quick. We need to spend too much damn time on how stupid Dr. Oz was. But we got one more though. Y'all stop acting like this ain't an hour and a half show.
Man, hold on. I signed up for an hour, 1 hour, an hour show. That is what when I come into these shows, I'm thinking like, nigga, I'm gonna be streaming for an hour.
We'll talk about it later. Can we go ahead?
We got one more. Listen, we got one more though.
Yeah,
easy. It's easy.
We'll talk about it later.
It's easy. Look, Herschel Walker has a new abortion accuser. Speaking of abortion, another person came out and said Herschel Walker also paid for my abortion. Do y'all think these abortion accusations will impact the Georgia election at all? Why not? Real quick. I know you hungry, nigga. Why not?
I just seen I think at this point I've seen 3 to 4 different Republicans literally saying they don't care about what he's done. It's all about the Senate. It's all about that seat. So in my mind, it's like at this point, what is like 6? Is it like 5 or 6 abortions that he's allegedly had? Shit, if you already made your decision by the second one. You know what I'm saying? By the third one, if you ain't already decided you like him or not, then shit, the fifth ain't gonna make a difference to me.
Who am I to disagree?
So you don't think that the abortion accusations will play any role in whether or not
they were a blip?
They
were a blip on the radar that day. They weren't even the biggest news that day. So no, I think a lot of people are gonna go and vote, not even knowing that is a piece of news that came out. And I think that is a result of people being infatuated with Kanye West. And I also think that is a result of not enough attention and political energy being put in by consumers of media and creators of media to really pay attention to that issue. So a lot of people, most people have his base ain't gonna care about it, and people who are on the fence who was thinking about voting for him ain't gonna know about it. So we just gotta kind of see how that shit shakes out.
All right. And with that being said, that's the political chop, man. Because I also don't believe that it will play. There was I forget the dude a while back, the Alabama election, that was accused of grooming young girls, hunting at a like literally hunting down younger women on high schools and all that.
Mm-hmm.
And he only lost his election by like 2 or 3 points or some
Yeah.
shit like that. So it's like
that was rude. I just want to point
Mercy.
Whoa, Mercy. You gotta get us kicked off of here. You're gonna get us in trouble.
Look, if he would have been aborted, like we wouldn't have the greatest rusher ever to come out of the University of Georgia.
My God. I'm clicking through these other comments just trying to watch the crazy way because that was wild. But
with that being said, yeah.
That tickled me.
Roy Moore, thank you. Induka, thank you. Roy Moore, that was his name. Roy Moore only lost by like, 2 or 3 points. And that man was known in like the 60s and 70s to be like literally at high schools grooming women. And he only lost by 2 or 3 points. You know what I mean? Which is an example of that to tell people of Georgia, yo, Herschel Walker is not for you. I don't care how many times he sit down with Killer Mike. He's not for you. He's counterproductive. The only reason he's even considered relevant is because of Donald Trump's popularity. He offers no solutions to anything y'all dealing with. He shouldn't be taken serious simply because he's a celebrity. Jazzy Phantom says there is an Arizona rep who just got caught jerking the chicken next to a preschool and they still saying they'll vote for him.
Factual.
Listen.
Factual. I was just about to bring that up. Factual. Wild times.
Oh, and then Duka said, thanks for pronouncing my name correctly. Of course. My name is Dominique. Do you know how many times I get called Dominic at Starbucks? Stop playing. But with that being said, that is the political chop. That's all we got for y'all tonight. Toya, go ahead and get ready to close this out.
Hey, it's love to y'all. Make sure y'all follow us and keep up with what's going on YouTube. We got a whole lot more stuff going on over there. If y'all are tapped in here, make sure you subscribe. Make sure you follow us on the Facebook. If you're on the Facebook group, make sure you like, love, do whatever emotive thing you can do to make sure you boost up some of us in the in the algorithm. And finally, if you are from Lee's page, go follow the Chop Up Show everywhere you can. Start off on Instagram. You'll get your way connected to everything else on there. Listen to us on Spotify. Listen to us on Apple Podcasts. Listen to us on Google us. We everywhere. Okay, Google the Chop Up Show. We on so many different podcasting platforms that don't make no sense. So you pick your poison, but make sure you stay plugged in. We'll be back next Thursday, if not earlier or between that time. So it kind of depends on what's happening in this world we live in. Stay tuned with us. We like y'all. We love y'all. We can't wait to see y'all again. You ready to push that button?
I am. The last thing I want to say is we need y'all help, right? We want to get this stream up to, let's say, 700 views. Help us get 700 views. Share the shit.
Shout out to Margot.
Like this shit. Shout out to Margot. Share the shit. Like this shit. Love this shit. Let everybody know, you know what I'm saying, where y'all get, who y'all favorite podcast is and who y'all fucking with. It's only through y'all that we become a bigger platform to get off a lot of this shit that y'all not gonna hear from the rest of these larger platforms. But with that being said, y'all stay tuned for the material that will come out that's a part of this, and we will see y'all next time. This is the Chop Up. We out.
In the city, we gon' slide, bet I be there pronto. Me, my guys, we really live. Lord, forgive me, pay my tithes. Please don't have me reach inside, and that's in the console. Keep the semi when I ride. Lit off